Who are you when you walk into a room full of people and you suddenly feel like you've vanished? I want to talk to you about a specific feeling. It's a sensation I've lived with for most of my life. You know the moment you're in a social situation. Maybe it's a pub on a Friday night, a wedding or a work event. The conversation is flowing and then it shifts. It moves into that typical lad territory. The banter gets sharper, the posturing starts. There's a subtle underlying layer of aggression, almost like a competition for who can be the funniest, the loudest, and who can take the mick without flinching. And in a split second, something in your body just clicks. It's a physical event. Your walls go up, your shoulders tighten, your jaw locks. Your mind, which was perfectly clear and articulate 5 minutes ago, goes completely blank. You find yourself standing there, nodding, maybe even letting out a fake laugh at a joke that isn't actually that funny. But you aren't really there anymore. You've retreated into a suit of armour that's 3 sizes too small. And every second just feels like a struggle just to stay in the room. You're just counting down the minutes until you can actually leave. And for a long time, I thought this was actually a defect in me. I thought I was broken or socially awkward. I thought I was failing at the most basic requirements of being a man. But today, I'm speaking directly to the man who feels like he doesn't fit in. Because I've realised that the world is currently trying to sell us a narrative of manhood that is fundamentally broken. And that shutdown, it's not a weakness, it's a warning. Now, we're seeing this lad culture explode online now. It's being rebranded and sold as the manosphere. You've probably seen the documentaries like Louis Theroux recently look into that world. It was a fascinating piece of social physics to watch. And here is Louis Theroux, a man who isn't a lad's lad. He's just curious, sensitive, observant, and he's comfortable with silence. And throughout those interactions, you see the alpha figures taking the mick out of him. They're mocking him for his voice, for his questions, for his lack of posture. They're trying to force him into their own narratives. So they push this old-fashioned toxic idea that a man needs to keep his emotions on ice, that he needs to be dominant at all times. They tell men that women are prizes to be acquired and that a real relationship involves a woman who bows down to a man. And yet they call this strength. They call it masculinity. But let's look beneath the layers, because as a coach, I've seen what happens in the private lives of these types of men who try to live that way. Any relationship built on that foundation, where one person has to suppress their humanity and the other has to be subordinate, well, that can't be happy. It's a performance. It's a house of cards built on the absolute terror of being seen as weak. These influencers who mock men like Louis Theroux are often the ones most trapped in their own walls. They're so terrified of the sensitive or connective part of themselves that they have to attack it whenever they see it in somebody else. They aren't strong, they're fragile, they're just better at the mask. So why does it hit us so hard? Why do we crawl up our arse? Why do we see that behaviour? For many of us, it goes back to the architecture of the wall. We didn't build these walls because we wanted to be lonely. We built them because, as children, we were taught that certain male figures weren't safe. If your first experience of manhood was your father, and he was someone who was judgmental or unpredictable or who used to banter as a way to belittle you, then your nervous system learned that very hard. Men are a threat until proven otherwise. When you grow up with a father wound like that, your brain develops a highly tuned radar for male judgment. You become an expert at threat assessment. You aren't just listening to what a man is saying, you're scanning his tone, his posture, his eyes. You're looking for the moment he's going to turn on you. So when you walk into a room of men posturing and mocking each other, your brain doesn't see fun, it sees a threat. It triggers a survival response that was designed to keep an 8-year-old safe. But it's now keeping a grown man paralysed in a social circle because you value depth, honesty, and genuine connection. The surface level noise of flag culture feels like an alien language. You don't fit in because you aren't playing the same game. You've probably noticed that you've always found more of comfort around women. For a long time, I felt ashamed of that. I felt like I was failing the boys' club. But the reason you feel safer with women isn't because you're soft. It's because generally women allow for emotional safety. They prioritise connection over competition. They don't require you to win the conversation just to be accepted. So your nervous system is simply seeking the safety it was denied as a child. Now, the cost of trying to fit into that toxic lag culture is your soul. It's the relationships you'll never have because you're too busy performing dominance. It's the exhaustion of carrying a mask that doesn't fit. And it's the tragedy of a life lived crawling up your arse because you're waiting for someone to give you permission to be real. Well, I'm giving you that permission right now. Real strength isn't about noise. It's not about how many people you can dominate or how many emotions you can bury. Real strength is being like Louis Theroux in those rooms. He stays in the room. He doesn't change who he is to fit their narrative. He doesn't start acting like a lad to be accepted. He stays curious. He stays real. And in doing so, he actually holds that power because he's not the only one acting. Next time you feel that shutdown coming on, next time you feel that pressure to join in with the toxic banter or to suppress your thoughts because they don't fit that alpha mold, don't fight the wall. Just notice it. Don't judge yourself for feeling uncomfortable. That discomfort is your integrity speaking. It's your system saying, this doesn't feel like home. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge that your 8-year-old self is trying to keep you safe. Say to yourself, there it is. There's the wall. I see it. And in that moment of noticing, you aren't the victim of the shutdown anymore. You're just the observer. You've created a gap between the feeling and the reaction. And in that gap, you can choose a different narrative. Now, you don't have to smash the wall down today. You can just learn how to breathe behind it. You might be the quietest man in the room. That's fine. You might be the man who prefers deep conversations in the corner over posturing at the bar. That's fine too. The world doesn't need more lads performing for each other. It doesn't need more men treating women like trophies or emotions like enemies. The world needs men who are real. Men who are willing to be the man who doesn't fit in, because they know that fitting in is just a polite way of saying, I'm hiding. Any man who tells you that they need to be a dominating alpha to be happy is lying to you. They're miserable behind their own layers. I have seen it. A happy life built on connection, vulnerability, and being comfortable enough in your own skin is better than anything. I want to challenge you. Next time you're in that environment, stay 10% more present. Don't worry about those jokes. Don't worry about winning. Just stay in your own space. Keep your feet on the floor. Take one long exhale and remind yourself, real is enough. You don't need to fit their narrative. You're the one holding the pen. You get to decide what kind of man you want to be. If this has hit home for you, if you're tired of the performance and the toxic lag culture narratives, then join this community. Over 90% of you aren't subscribed yet, and we're trying to build a space where men can finally be themselves without an apology. Hit that subscribe button and let's grow this together. Check out my book in the description for a deeper dive in decoding your history and finding your way out of the shutdown. And follow me on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Craig Lewis Coach for more daily insights on mastering your inner self. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to look at the wall. It isn't easy. It's the only way to find the real you. And it's been waiting there underneath all along. Master the narrative. Stop the performance. Just be real. Real is enough. I'm Craig Lewis, and I'll catch you on the next one.